This episode was first released last year, but I'm pulling it back out because I know a lot of you haven't heard it yet, and it's a good conversation. It's with Kim Fields, and Kim is starring in a new Lifetime movie. She's also the executive producer. It's called You Light Up My Christmas, and it'll be released on Lifetime on December 1st. This is Really Famous. I'm Kara Mayer Robinson, and I interview famous people. But I don't just interview them like your typical interview. I'm not really interested in those same old questions. Instead, I like to know who they really are and what they really think. Sometimes it's like listening to old friends catching up, and other times it's like eavesdropping on a therapy session. My guest today is Kim Fields. Kim became a cultural icon in the 80s by playing Tootie on The Facts of Life. Later, she went on to another big show called Living Single, which was about a group of 20-somethings living together in New York City. It aired at the same time as Friends. Fast forward a bunch of years, and Kim was on TV once again, this time in a reality show. She joined the cast of The Real Housewives of Atlanta for one season, and then soon after, she competed on Dancing with the Stars. Kim has always been a private person, but she told me recently she decided it felt like the right time to share a little bit more than what meets the eye. So she wrote a memoir called Blessed Life, available anywhere you buy your books. Here we are talking about a particularly low period in her life, which she refers to as the dark age.
Yes, so, even though I say in the book I never claimed depression, right. I never said that out word because I didn't want to use that label. And again, I realize how important it is to identify that and to get mental health healing. So again, not to poo-poo that at all. That is incredibly important. But for me in my 20s, I was like, I don't want to put that label on it. I'm going to call it horribly disappointed.
Right. So for you, it felt like it was a one-timer then for you, and you didn't really want, you never got like diagnosed or went to a therapist or anything?
I didn't go to therapy then, but I have been, let's be clear. And therapy, just from the standpoint of sometimes you just got to talk it out.
Yeah, hello, therapy, I'm pro-therapy, I'm pro-therapy.
Sometimes you have to talk it out with somebody that's completely neutral. That's not going to be your amen corner. That's not going to use the opportunity to add on to it, you know, with their own knowledge of your history, but just neutral and has tools to share with you on how to get healthy, how to heal. So all of that said, yes, I had been to therapy, but you know, in your late 20s, and for the space that I was in personally, professionally, and spiritually, it just was, you know, kind of a triple threat in the bad way, not the right. Good Broadway way.
How threat is supposed to be, you know, intended to be used, right, as a negative.
Right, exactly.
So I know what happened before that because I read it, but yes. Many listeners will not have read it. So what was happening? What specifically did you go through right before that?
Specifically, I had finished doing Living Single. And I had a production company that had no fruit that, you know, came forth. And yet I was responsible for office space and salaries and production, not research and development, you know, that sort of thing. And it just went nowhere, you know, and if you're an entrepreneur and you're listening, you know exactly what I'm talking about, you know, where you just are in that space of, oh my gosh, I have payroll to meet. I've got rent on my office to meet, and you have to spend money to make money, and I spent money but I wasn't making it a return on my there was no ROI, and all of that, you know, was happening professionally.
And this is coming off a very successful show. Living Single was successful. Like exactly. You were Regine, and everybody loved the show and you, and as much as I remember.
Sure, yeah, no, absolutely. And so I was on a hit show that we were in finishing our fifth year, and you know we weren't returning, and I was divorced. I had just gotten a divorce, and I didn't understand how all of this had happened. I felt like I'd planted carrot seeds and got telephone poles.
That's an analogy.
That just can't be.
So, so you haven't felt like that since then? You haven't had a low to that degree?
I've certainly had reason to go there. I just opted. Well, you know, I mean, I've had 2 miscarriages. I've been married for 10 years, and we've been together for 13 years. So the constant navigating of marital waters.
Even with the right one.
Even with the right one. Even with the most amazing, blessed human being on the planet. Yes.
There have been highs and lows.
There have been highs and lows, but you know, one, and I hear people say this a lot when they're dealing with depression or coming out of depression or bipolar, or, you know, just different things that deal with your mental and spiritual well-being, and they'll say, I can get in front of it. Okay. You know, I can see it coming.
Yes.
And so for me, it's one of those before the train pulls into the station, I'm able to reroute it.
What do you do?
Of course, I just take a minute to just breathe. And I run down his resume. My amazing husband told me once, and you know, obviously, I wish I had this information 20 years ago when I first went into the dark age for me. But he said to me, "Baby, you can't worry and remember at the same time. You can't worry about what God's going to do, and you can't remember what He's already done." Okay. At the same time, you have to pick. Are you going to worry about it, or are you going to remember, hey, wait a minute, this is the same God that did this. This is the same God that did that. You know, I've been in a similar situation, and this is what He did. So, okay.
And it turned out okay.
Exactly.
It's interesting, too, because worry is usually about the future, and depression tends to be about the past.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. I have to let that marinate.
And the trick is supposed to be to stay in the present.
Right.
With maybe a little bit of both, but just not get stuck in one or the other.
Well, as you know, I say in the book, you know, the few friends and family that I let see me during that dark period for me, their only thing was, you can be here, and we respect that, we understand it. You can't live in this space. You can't get stuck here. You can't stay here in this space, and that was important.
Yeah.
You know,
the book is called Blessed Life.
Yes.
And it's available everywhere you
get
your books.
Absolutely.
So
Download,
Barnes & Noble,
Amazon audiobook. I also do the recording for the audiobook.
Well, you have to, right? Well, it would be weird if somebody else did.
That's what I thought.
Right. Do people sometimes have other people doing?
I think so. Yeah. I don't know how that works, and you know, if this goes into other languages, I'm already thinking of actresses I want to play me.
Oh, really? Good. Who have you got?
Let's see. I would love either Selma Hayek or Sophie. Wait, is it
Sophia Loren?
Yes. No. No.
Oh, in Italian.
Oh God, that's
yes.
Good. But wait a minute. I'm on Spanish. Wait a minute. Sofia Vergara. Yes, I would love for Sofia Vergara to do the translation in Spanish. For French, Juliette Binoche.
She's amazing.
Oh my God, I adore her.
Isn't she also? She's so real.
I love her work.
What's your favorite?
Oh my goodness. My favorite might be Chocolat from her, but it's a close second to, of course, The English Patient. I mean, yeah, that was just phenomenal. But she's really great in the movie she did with Steve Carell.
I was just gonna say that one, and he was great in that too.
Girl, stop playing.
That's like
I was
Steve
just
Carell,
telling my husband.
And I'm forgetting.
Dan
in Real Life.
Dan in Real Life.
So good, both of them, as just real people.
Who saw Dane Cook coming in that?
Seriously.
Okay, we're about to do a little show on
let's go.
movies. Well, this has now changed the movie review.
That's okay. That's half of what I do, because this is what I love also.
Girl.
So, Steve Carell also. We'll just go off on him for a second.
Let's do it. Let's fan out on
Little
Steve
Miss
Carell.
Sunshine. Stop.
Wow. That's a gem I forgot about.
We love him as a funny guy.
That's just what my husband said.
He's so good.
Yes.
Dramatically.
But you know the truth? Most comic actors or comedic actors are brilliant dramatic actors.
Most, you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because you have to realize most of them, a lot of their comedy comes from pain.
Sure.
And so when they have a chance to then expose that pain, and it may not be, the triggers that caused it, but just the fact that, oh, I've experienced something like this. It's very powerful. And when you look at performances from people like Eddie Murphy or Richard Pryor, Will Ferrell has done some wonderful dramatic work. I mean, it's really very strong.
Wait, what are we talking about with Will?
What was the one? Latifah did it. Latifah did the movie with him.
What? Which one? I don't think I saw that.
Oh my goodness, where's my phone? I have to look it up. He was a writer. Hold on, please hold.
Okay. It's not that salesman one, is it? He was a salesman in something, and he left everything out on his front lawn, or like his wife did, or something like that.
I don't know. But you know who else? John Candy. I was just looking at, because it's the anniversary of this movie, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
I love that movie.
Oh my gosh, great movie. But John Candy and Steve Martin's just always brilliant. I mean, always. But the dramatic moments are so real. So real.
And that's what makes them so...
Absolutely.
Like your whole body feels it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's Steve Carell.
So who are some of your favorite actors?
Okay, wait a minute, because now I gotta find this movie. Stranger Than Fiction.
Stranger Than Fiction. I never saw that.
Yes, yeah.
That's right. I heard of it though.
Good stuff there, yeah. Some of my favorites, and he's one of my best friends. I adore Blair Underwood's work.
You mention him a lot in the book.
I do.
And I think he's amazing too.
Yeah, he is.
And we go back to, he goes back to, what was his first show that was really big?
Well, L.A. Law.
L.A. Law.
Yeah.
I always want to say Law and Order. I always mess it up. It was L.A. Law.
L.A. Law. But he never ceases to amaze me with how he continues to grow and develop as an actor. He's never the same. Never the same. And I had the great, glorious fortune of seeing him on Broadway in Streetcar.
Incredible.
I mean, just such an impactful performance. He and Nicole Ari Parker just blew me away. Totally blew me away.
So are you friends with him too?
Yeah, he's one of my best friends, and that's why there's so many like little Blair gems.
Yes,
because he's given me so much wisdom over the course of our friendship, which is what 30-something years now.
So how did you get to know him? What was that? Was it on a project or something?
We met at the Janet Jackson video release party in the '80s for. One of her songs from Rhythm. I mean, it was a great party, and so that's where I met him. And he and Malcolm Jamal Warner knew each other, and Malcolm and I are dear friends as well. And so the three of us just, were always connected and stayed connecting to be iron for each other. Iron sharpens iron, and we kind of made this unspoken pact almost of that's who we are to each other, and because we get certain things about what each other goes through professionally, which of course will most times affect you personally. Mm-hmm. On top of the fact that he has shared so much wisdom with me that his parents have shared with him. And I mean, up to recently, a few weeks ago, we were on the phone chatting, and he was like, "Let me tell you, my mama said this," and I was like, "Oh, thanks, Mom. I need to call her and tell her thanks again."
And do you ever talk to them separately?
Oh yeah,
his parents.
I mean, not like for advice or whatever, but like on holidays, and especially Mother's Day and Father's Day, I'll always say to him, "Make sure you tell them Happy Mother's Day and Father's Day from me, because I've gleaned from them for what they poured into you."
Okay.
But he's just a tremendous actor, and again, we understand that we have to reinvent ourselves, and it isn't just the visual, with how we look. We keep working, and we work hard at reinventing who we are in our craft, and we're rewarded for that with work and good work, good writing, great characters, amazing storytelling.
But it's hard to find those roles, isn't it?
Yes, but when you put when you put that out there, it comes back to you. You know, it kind of boomerangs to you. So, you know, we will go and do a play at, you know, everything is in Broadway or TV. So you go and do a play at a theater that may be a regional theater or a festival or things like that, just to, again, sharpening that iron. Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, and I call Blair my iron lighthouse, because it's a mix of iron sharpens iron, which we say to each other all the time and have for decades. But recently, he's kind of escalated in terms of our friendship, and how he is, you know, poured into things like reinventing myself, things like relationship advice, things like hanging in there in the industry overall, you know. And so he's kind of gone to this next level with me, and so I call him Lighthouse, because I'm like, I can cry and just, you know, totally, you know, just bare my soul, and he's right there as that lighthouse for me, you know, where if I can't see straight at the moment, he's there, you know. And most of the time it's professionally, you know, and being able to have that soul and that ear to bounce off of from someone who genuinely gets it, because we all started right around the same time.
So is it a tough industry to be in?
Oh goodness, yes. Life is tough, and pretty much any industry is tough nowadays, you know, whether you're in, I mean, finance, real estate, entertainment, publishing. I mean, everything is hard, just point blank.
Yeah.
And so.
But what about entertainment specifically, Hollywood?
Well, Hollywood and entertainment, because there's so many variables that you don't have control over, from the standpoint of you can be very, very talented and not work. You can be really smart and not have longevity. I mean, there's just so many things that are based on, well, you know, I had this relationship, and I don't mean it in the sense of what's going on, unfortunately, now that's really coming to light. But, you know, just, well, I worked with this person 20 years ago, and I told them I'd cut my brakes. So now that I'm catching a break, I'm going to give it to them. Well, wait a minute. You know, and I'm sure that's not unique just to the entertainment industry. The public is fickle, and yet very sophisticated, you know, and so the content that is out there now is at a different level. What I'm grateful for that makes my industry a little, almost, I won't say easy, but better right now, so many outlets. There's so many outlets and platforms that you can put content on and be a part of. That's tremendous. You know, that doesn't mean you don't get frustrated when a deal doesn't happen, or a deal takes 2 years, you know, or people that are getting paid to do a job don't do the job, and so you got to do your job and their job, and, you know, things like that. But again, I'm sure you could talk to somebody that works at Verizon right now and they say the same thing.
Or maybe just a different set of challenges.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but there are challenges everywhere.
There are challenges everywhere, absolutely. And, you know, to have a friend like Blair to be able to bounce these things off of, or Malcolm, and even with Nicole, you know, we've become friends because our kids used to go to school together.
But we were talking about Nicole.
Ari Parker.
Okay.
Yeah. And being able to, you know, have real talk and real conversations, you know, about raising children, and, you know, talking to Blair's wife, Desi. I mean, just, it's the village, and the village has to be about doing village work. If you have a village and they ain't about doing village work, then they're just, you know, taking up space.
And I think the village is maybe even more important when your industry is more of that fickle, shallow,
absolutely,
you know, advancing themselves or whatever in whatever way they can.
Absolutely.
So let's get back to TV and movies.
Yes.
What are you watching? Do you watch a lot of TV?
I do, but I end up like binging a lot to catch up, just because it's my schedule, you know, and being a very active mom and wife and career woman and entrepreneur. It's you know, and I don't have the type of schedule that is regimented as most people would, you know. So sometimes I might be at work 18 or 12 hours a day, 10 hours a day, but I have a big gap of downtime or something like that. So in those moments, yeah, I just I could not get enough of Bloodline on Netflix.
Oh, I love Bloodline.
I miss it so.
Me too. The Rayburns.
Yes, the Rayburns. They were amazing.
What did you think about the ending? I don't want to give it away for anyone.
Yeah, the ending. I was like, oh, okay. I get leaving the door open. I love anybody that has the mindset to want to have their customer or their viewer engage in dialogue after. You know, I don't want to just spoon feed you every single thing.
Yes.
So I thought that I thought it was strategic in that regard.
Maybe if not giving us closure.
Yes. Yeah. And I respect that too, because unfortunately, there's a lot of time when we don't have closure.
In life. So it's a reflection of life.
Absolutely. So, I definitely got that.
The Sopranos ending was kind of similar. Did you watch that then?
Of course. I love The Sopranos, but yeah, very much so. I love Insecure.
That's an amazing show.
I'm revisiting The Tudors because I loved it when it was on Showtime, and now Netflix has that. Blackish and the Mayor, This Is Us. I mean, you know, I watch well, I'm a content provider, so I have to watch, you know, and just at least know what's out there, you know.
When you say you're a content provider,
I'm a producer. I produce content, so
you need to know what's out there and what people are watching.
Absolutely, what the appetite is, what people are interested in, what's successful. I'm not, you know, interested in being a copycat, you know, because sometimes our industry, for as creative as it is, it's so much tunnel vision. This was successful. Let's make 12. Well, come on.
Totally. That happens entirely too often.
Absolutely. So, you know, finding ways to be innovative. I love the new style of storytelling where it's not as linear, and yet you don't feel like you're just doing flashbacks. I love the new style of storytelling where, you know, scenes are running parallel and you're cutting between three things that are happening simultaneously. You know,
like
those sorts of things. Well, I mean, Bloodline was very good at that. Like, you'll be in one scene and then they'll cut to something else happening somewhere else, but they're happening at the same time, but they're not connected. It's not like a phone call where they're intercutting between the two scenes. It's just two things, and it's mindful. It helps you. It's reflective of there's life happening at the same time. We're here having this conversation. Across the road in that window is someone else having a conversation about something else. You know, that sort of thing.
All at the same time. Yeah. So it's kind of like...
yeah, I loved Luther. I loved that show on BBC. And I honestly, I love my new series. I'm a fan of it.
So your new series?
Living the Dream, yes.
Where can people watch it?
It's currently on Sky One for the UK, and they are, you know, actively looking at U.S. distribution.
So right now you can't get it here?
That's what I heard.
Or maybe you can somehow? There's no way around it.
There's no way around it, yeah, unfortunately. But, you know, we just got picked up for season 2. I did a tweet last night that I was so excited to be in the elevator at my hotel, and this English couple comes into the elevator. Well, before we even got in, they kind of look and, you know, it's Kim Bales. And I thought, you know, oh, well, Real Housewives was just on over there, or, you know, Living Single Facts of Life is in worldwide syndication. Maybe it's that. And she looks at me and she says, "Are you on a series?" And I said, "Yes." And she says, "Living the Dream?" And I'm like, "Yes,
awesome.
That is mine."
That was like the best answer
right.
for you. The best
I'm getting fans in Scotland.
That's cool.
I mean, just all sorts of things. So that's very exciting, you know.
So Real Housewives, let's talk about that. So you were on Real Housewives of Atlanta for 1 year?
One season.
One season.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So reflecting back on that, was that like, did you love it? Did you hate it? Was it weird?
It was what I call a social adventure, and
very conscious term.
Yes,
naming.
absolutely. And I did learn some things about myself. I learned that I needed me time still. I didn't know that, quite honestly. I thought I had, plenty of me time when I came out the dark ages. So I was like, I'm good. I got me time credit. But oh, you still need to fulfill yourself. And because my life, even with all the low lows and high highs, my life brings me so much joy, and I'm so fulfilled that I didn't feel like I was missing anything. So I didn't feel like I needed me time, and my life is not so overwhelming that I need to get away or escape and things like that. So I was like, no, I don't.
Except then when you were filming a reality show?
No, what happened was one of the castmates asked me, well, what do I do for my me time? And that's what, and I was like, I go to carpool because that really makes me happy. I make lunch for my kids. And I go to work. Those are the things that I do in my regular life.
So it was a conversation, actually.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
It was a conversation that I was having with one of the cast members on camera, and from that, I had another revelation of, oh, I need time for myself, and so that was interesting. I also learned that there really is some value to that whole girlfriend scene and hanging out with the girls and girls' night in or girls' night out and things like that, because you can just being around for each other, you can get inspired from different things. For me, I'm not a clothes horse. I'm not a I wasn't into
fashion. You look like you would be a clothes horse. You look really cool.
But that was 2 years ago. Thank you very much.
Okay.
But, and I was, but my style was more like bohemian glam. If I have to put on the dog, so to speak. But things like, accessories and purses and stuff like that, or just that girlfriend interaction. I was one of those girls that I didn't hang out with girlfriends.
With like a bunch of girls.
Yeah. I was like, I managed the baseball team, and so many of my friends were my guy friends, and I liked sports, and I wasn't a girly girl and that sort of thing. So it was nice to, again, in that social adventure, have some of that. But overall, professionally speaking, it was great because it was my toe in the water at reality. We had been asked for years to have our own reality show, and we just felt like that's going to be too much. It's going to be too evasive. We just had our second child, the scheduling of it, and we felt like if we have our own show, then it's all on us. And unless it's like one of those Big Brother shows where they've got 20 cameras all throughout and we can just go on with our lives, and then you edit it, it's for anybody to come and navigate what we are.
Oh, so instead of bringing cameras in,
exactly, and following us, and and making it more of what people think our lives should be, and having a schedule of, we'd like to film you at this place and that sort of thing. And so it was more so, let's try it out and see what happens. There's 7 or 8 other people there, so castmates, so it shouldn't be on us the whole time. But it was still, a very, very rigorous schedule, very, when you have small kids, it's for me, because
so
I'm
what was it then?
So,
well, how much do they film you every day or a few days a week?
It depends. Yeah, it was a few days a week, but sometimes the hours were very, very long. There's trips. Things like that. And so because it was not my be-all, end-all, I was still working as an actor and director. I'm still mommy, I'm still wife, I'm still entrepreneur, so it's not like that was the only thing I was doing. And again, this is my experience. I know other people can do it with everything else that they may do. And again, I'm an actor. I was never meant to live there. I was there to visit and keep it pushing. And from a personality standpoint, I was never there. I wasn't even invited to fit in. Why would you have, you got 8 people there. It's like with characters.
What do you mean you weren't invited to fit in?
Because I wasn't there to change who I am. You know, and people know I'm not the usual, like people go, well, that doesn't seem like a fit. I wasn't there to fit in. I'm there to represent another type of voice that does exist in this world. I'm there to interact and show that you can interact even though you're not the same.
Oh, so were you
one of these things is not like the other,
right?
And that's okay.
And
so
did they think they wanted you for that reason? Like they felt like you aren't just like everybody else on the show?
Exactly.
And to see how what the dynamic would be?
Exactly. What the dynamics are. And you know, and it was what it was meant to be. And what I appreciate is everyone still, you know, 2 years later saying, wow, I really love that you were so different than what we're used to in that space. Not just on that show, but in that space. And great. Did what I had to do. Now I'm over here doing this thing,
right.
You know?
I have to tell you, so many people watch that show. Like, almost everybody who I interview or talk to, I always ask them what they like to watch. And I am shocked by how many people say Real Housewives. I'm telling you, from all walks of life.
It's got a very robust and definitive audience, you know, and it's a brand. It isn't just a show. It's a brand, and even with that, not just the Real Housewives brand, but then for each city, it's a brand. So, you know, it was one of those things where I'm glad in the grand scheme of things that I did. I don't live with regrets. I understand that, you know, people do what they do to make their check, and then let's all keep it pushing. I'm on to the next thing, and been on to the next thing.
So you are one of these people too, I think, who you are in something, you're doing it, you're excited, whatever, but then like you're ready when it's time to move on to something else and try something else.
Absolutely. When I hit the 40-year mark of being in the industry.
40 years in the industry.
Yes. When I got to my 40th anniversary in show business, I realized, and I told my team, what haven't we done? Whether it's a genre, a character, what haven't we done that makes sense? And let's do it if it comes our way or if we go after it. And so doing things like reality, doing Dancing with the Stars for competition, a British comedy, you know, I wanted to make sure that I was still stimulated creatively, because 40 years is a long time to do something.
For sure.
And so, and I mean, you know, it's a blessing that people still want to work with you and hire you and support you, whether it's, you know, with watching and you have ratings, or they come and see you in a play or a movie, whatever it may be. So coming outside of my comfort zone professionally also started forcing me to come out personally of my comfort zone.
Oh, interesting.
And so, you know, it's been good.
So Dancing with the Stars was a big thing for you. You weren't sure if you were going to do that or not.
Oh my gosh,
by the way, that's another show that I think so many people watch. That's a huge fan base.
It's a huge fan base, and it's a tremendous family to be in. And when the talent booker was talking with me, she said, once you're in this family, you're in this family. And she was absolutely right. Absolutely right. And there's so much that I got from that show. And now, you know, my agent submits me for projects where there's dancing, whether it's, you know, a play with dancing and music or a musical, whatever. But coming out of my comfort zone, you know, and I'm always looking for that first and foremost with my acting. Again, going back to conversations I've had with Blair and Malcolm over the years, you know, how do you push yourself as an actor and either create or do characters that, you know, again, take your craft and your work ethic in your craft to the next level. That to me is part of the magic in acting. And living now is what I'm finding too. So coming out of my comfort zone in those regards and doing things, Battle of the Network Stars, you know, doing things that are not at all in my comfort zone, but yet they push me and that excites me, and then I gain so much more from it, and it's incredibly rewarding, you know, and it helps to do that if you want any longevity in whatever career you're in.
Yeah, and you have reinvented yourself over and over again because you had to, right? That's what you said. You describe yourself as scrappy.
Yes.
And you like that.
Yes.
I mean, you should be proud of that.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you've had to. So it does seem like, I think to somebody who's looking from the outside, like, oh my God, you've been so successful all over the years, you know, starting with the Facts of Life and going forward to now. But actually, like, after many successes, you have to kind of pick yourself up and start from scratch again, right?
You do. Well, if I looked at it as starting from scratch, I'd lose my mind.
Oh, okay, so never mind that. Or maybe if you look back and think of it that way, you'll feel good.
At this level, to take it to the next level. And to me, reinventing oneself, and it isn't just for people in the entertainment industry. You can be a corporate executive and realize why I have to reinvent myself. Some of it is going back to school. Some of it is getting training in new areas. Some of it is, you know, visually. Oh, I think I'll lose some weight. I think I'll dye my hair. I think I'll, you know, change my eyebrows. I mean, whatever it may be, to just keep it interesting. You know, otherwise we would have all been in a, you know, a very bland existence for ourselves. And life is so, one, precious, and two, delicious and interesting. There's so many interesting people out there. That's why I'm sure you love what you do.
So many. It's why I love what I do.
Exactly.
It's so fascinating.
Absolutely.
Everybody is fascinating to me, practically.
Completely.
Right?
And everyone has a story in them, and everyone is on this wonderful journey with all the highs and with all the lows, all the rocky road and unpaved gravelly areas and all the smooth paved parts of their road. But we all are on this thing, you know, and it's like taking a long drive. The times when you start feeling sleepy is when the road has been smooth. It's usually dark.
It's the same.
It's the same. You know, there's no billboards. There's barely, you know, pops of light or color or anything like that. And there's a certain sense of boredom that kicks in, you know?
I'm with that completely.
Yeah.
Totally true. So speaking of sparks of light, you have this beautiful red hair.
Thank you.
And you started dyeing it recently.
Well, it went red at the top of 2017.
2017.
Yeah,
okay, so you've had it. Also, all right. So you've had it for about a year now. Is it going to stay? Is there going to be a change?
I'm feeling red for a minute. Yeah, because I was blonde for like, I don't know, 20 years or something like that. So.
And you chopped it all off at one point too.
I've chopped it all off. I've well, in my late 20s, right as I was kind of finishing up Regine, I started doing locks. So I had dreadlocks, and then when I turned 30, I did blonde and was blonde, you know, up until this past year. But again, it's part of keeping it interesting, you know. And to me, it definitely, like, the blonde hair just gives me, I feel just light. I feel like I'm light, you know, and with my red hair, I just feel edgy, you know. I feel a sense of, I'm not going to tell you what's coming next. You're not going to see me coming. And I kind of like that.
Yeah, so it reflects your mood, and you choose it because of where you are, want to be, or the vibe that you're feeling at the moment.
Absolutely. And sometimes it is a strategic move for my industry from the standpoint of, what's everybody else doing? I'm not trying to look like everybody else. So if everybody's doing this, I'm going to do this.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in your book, you talked a little bit about some body image issues, right? So they started when you were on The Facts of Life.
Yes.
And so you had an interesting story. I'm not going to give the whole thing away, but as you were going through puberty right on TV.
Oh, Lord Jesus, yes.
And you said, like, you were developing rather quickly or fully.
Yes.
And you even they taped down your breasts at a certain point?
They tried at a certain point because I was, you know, again, developing and quite quickly. And so they, you know, they talked about an option of maybe taping me down. And we were like, no, we're not going to try that. And like I say in the book, to their credit, the producers realized after, you know, a certain point, we're making a TV show about girls growing up, plain and simple.
So
and
what's better than that?
Yeah, exactly. And I can't say that they were always, you know, total, you know, supportive, and hey, you know, go willy-nilly and we'll just film it. It wasn't a reality show about girls growing up. And so, you know, there were still things like, well, okay, now everybody's not looking like, not that they were trying to have leading ladies, but, you know, in the 80s, you know, it was a time when you might need to lose a little bit of weight to be on TV, unless you are that character who is not that.
Everybody knows how important it is for girls growing up not to feel or to try to resist the whole societal message of you have to be thin and, you know, beautiful or whatever.
Yeah.
So how did that impact you as a teenager growing up and then the rest of your life?
Well, you know, I saw it happening for Lisa first, who played Blair on the show. Lisa Welcher, yeah, because she was, you know, her character Blair was the rich, pretty girl. And so there were very specific components of that label, you know, that she had to deal with. And so I felt for her, you know, when the weight issue happened for her. And then for me, it was like, well, I'm not the pretty one. I'm the little scrappy girl. So why do I have to? Why y'all bothering me?
Yeah.
But
so you didn't internalize it. You were sort of like, hey.
A little bit. There was a little discussion over it, you know, because it was a thing of, you know, is everything okay? Are you all right? I'm fine. I'm hungry, so I eat, and I'm short, and I have, you know, large breasts, but I'm good. There's nothing wrong.
So they thought you were like emotionally eating or something?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That would come later.
So they were all
maybe they were prophets. The prophets of Fast Life. We're not producers. We're prophets. It you know, it was, puberty is difficult. End of discussion. Those awkward teen years. You're physically awkward, you're mentally awkward, you're emotionally all over the place. And so to do that and still, you know, then play another character and then do that in front of, you know, the world, it's really difficult.
Yeah.
And then to also be keenly aware of those who have come before you in the child star, you know, sorority, fraternity, if you will, and those who did not fare well. Because of those pressures are real.
So you mean like didn't fare well with like drugs and alcohol?
Drugs and alcohol, you know, taking their lives, that sort of thing, depression, all sorts of things.
And that was sort of in the time. I think there were people in the time frame that you were.
There's people in every generation that have that, you know, unfortunately. But it's something that's a part of that existence because you have a lot of success at a young age, which is very surreal. You have a lot of money at a young age, which is surreal, even when you've got good people around you taking care of it for you. You've got a lot of notoriety, you know, and a lot of people that depend on you for their livelihood. So they cater to you, and they, you know, so there's different things that children don't normally have to contend with. And navigate through. And so it's on top of, oh, I've got braces, oh, my skin is bad, oh, my boobs, oh, I've started my period, oh, I shaved my legs. You know, I mean, just things that are just, you know, I mean, everybody right now, take 10 seconds and think about when you went through puberty. Ooh. Yeah, right? Exactly. Now imagine doing that on television.
No, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm eternally grateful that I went through puberty without social media.
Sure,
Y'all can have that.
I can't imagine.
Have that. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Nope.
All right, so I have a few things to ask you about the book specifically. In fact, I put out a little question to some people on Facebook. Dwayne Maddie said, love Kim Fields. She was a major competitor on Battle of the Network Stars decades ago and was recently on the revival of the show. I'd like to know if it has the same competitive feel to it and which one she preferred.
Yes, Dwayne had the same competitive feel. I'm very competitive, and the first time I did Battle of the Network Stars let me know, oh my God, I'm very competitive.
Wait, the sweet Kim Fields is also very competitive?
See, that's what I'm saying. There's stuff about me y'all don't know. My run on Dancing with the Stars completely sealed the deal in terms of she's competitive. oh my God, she's competitive. I mean, to tell
Seriously?
you. Oh,
driven when it's a competition. You want to win that thing.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Are you competitive with your family too, I wonder?
No.
Not at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
I feel like personally, I'm just going to jump in with my own story. I'm not really that competitive, I don't think, in like real life or whatever. But when it comes to my family and like any kind of competition, my kids know, and my husband are like, you know, Mom, she's the most competitive. She gets crazy.
She's gonna throw that elbow at you.
You know, we're playing some sort of a game or having some sort of guessing competition or whatever it is. I guess I've got to win. But it's fun.
So
it's more fun that way when you're like.
That's funny. It can be, but as long as you stay healthy with it.
Don't worry, I'm not like biting anyone's head off as well. It's good. Safe.
But no, very, very competitive. In terms of which one I prefer, I don't have a preference because the times that I did it in the 80s, the 2 times I did it then, was so special because number one, I was invited to do Battle of the Network Stars. That was a huge deal.
Yeah, that's huge.
That was a huge deal, especially to be a black teenage girl, because most of the time for the females on Battle of the Network Stars, it was Farrah Fawcett. It was the girl Daisy Dukes. What's her name?
Catherine somebody.
Yes. You know, it was the pretty girls, the pretty girls, and I really didn't. I thought it was at best cute at a certain. At little glimpses in time, but certainly not when I had like my braces and you know things like that. And to be invited to do Battle of the Network Stars and twice was major. I mean, Lisa, you know, was our pretty girl, and she went. So I was like, okay, they've covered our show. So for me to be invited was just huge. And then to interact with Mark Harmon, who every time he sees me, he's like, Kimmy, you have just the biggest heart in the world. You're just such a competitor and a champion. And I love that he saw that in me because he was a former athlete and knew how badly I wanted to win and that sort of thing. And so when I won the relay race, when he was my team captain and got that hug from him, I can remember it like it just happened 2 seconds ago because it was incredibly special.
Feel like surreal almost.
Yeah, very much so. So, and it was very validating for me. You know, that I belong here. I was invited here.
Now, we didn't talk much about it, but I would like to just, you know, at least touch on it. So what is it like to be a black woman in Hollywood? I mean, that's a big question.
Girl,
it's pretty broad. Attack it from any angle you want.
We have to schedule another interview.
This will be a follow-up. This will be an offshoot.
Excuse me. Honestly, real talk, I know I am, but I don't look through that lens very often because then it's easy to start wearing that on your sleeve. I'm an actor, point blank. I'm a director, point blank. I'm not a female this, I'm not a black this. I'm not a huge fan of labels. So, you know, and again, this is how I'm wired. I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
You're not judging anyone else who thinks that way.
Else, yeah, but just how I'm wired. I'm not a fan of labels. You know, I'm an artist, I'm an actor, I'm a director, I'm a creative force, I'm a content provider. So that's those are the things I do. That said, of course, I understand the shoulders I stand on in terms of former child stars, male or female, black, white, or otherwise. I stand on the shoulders of African American women. I stand on the shoulders of women, female directors. So of course, I understand, you know, what my creative ancestry has done and endured. But I think part of that too is for me to be able to not kowtow to the labels, not to only look through that lens. I of course recognize the battles. I of course recognize the imbalance of opportunities for women, for people of color, for women of color, all of that. And I'm grateful that, you know, for where we are now, you know, we've got so many executives that are people of color, showrunners that are high. I mean, crazy successful, you know, showrunners that are persons of color, and so it's the tide. We have to just keep working. Bottom line, we have to.
It's a work in progress, and
absolutely,
hopefully
it's a work in progress. Absolutely, but there's just as much emphasis on the word work as there is on the word progress.
Totally.
And we are in this wonderful day and age where there's a lot of outlets, like I mentioned, and platforms. So it isn't all 5 million of us that are people of color or women of color going after one role on one show. You know, it's the playing field is getting a little more level, and more opportunities. People are taking the bull by the horns a bit more. Issa Rae, I cannot tell you how she inspired me.
Like personally, or by watching her show? But you know her personally?
No.
Okay, but just watching
we've
what she's...
We've interacted on Instagram, but just watching the strategy of her, you know, putting her show on, or putting her creativity on YouTube, and how that then became her opening for an HBO deal.
Yes, that's amazing. So for people who don't know, her show was Insecure.
Yes.
And it started out as a YouTube series.
It started out on YouTube as Awkward Black Girl. And for her to use those definitive labels, awkward, black, girl, I mean, Jesus.
Triple threat.
Right.
Full circle.
Exactly. But again, you know, it resonated, and it started resonating beyond the awkward black girl. And so it became very successful. And you know, then HBO offered her a deal, and you know, transitioned it into becoming the show Insecure. And then she's got another deal, and I mean, you know, all sorts of things. And she's also provided other opportunities for others, you know, in front of the camera and behind the camera. Again, I think it limits. To me, labels create. And again, this is how I'm wired. If I utilize labels to describe myself, I feel like I'm creating glass ceiling layers with those labels.
Right, and I know you don't want anybody to think that you were saying this is the way that you have to be to them, but you have to know yourself. So you know this, you learn this about yourself.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
so that's why you approach life and your career that way.
Absolutely, absolutely. And my team knows that. So, you know, they don't just look at roles that are for, they don't submit me for just, you know, the black girl that's, you know, 30 to 45. I've played roles that were written for a white male in his 50s.
I love that, and I've heard that before, and I always think it's fantastic, because why? Yeah, think outside the box, and that very small box.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's the character, it's the person. It's not necessarily about their gender or you know,
unless it's specific to the story or the characters and things like that.
Why not be? What was one of those that it was supposed to be a black? I mean, a white
It was
male.
A show on Lifetime. It was Nancy's show.
Nancy McKeon.
Yeah,
from The Facts of Life.
Yes.
Joe. Sorry.
I know who you're talking about.
I just want to make sure everyone knows. Yes.
What was her detective show? She
had a detective show?
Oh, yeah.
Like a series?
Yeah, she had a series, and I was the principal of a school that had a bomb something or another.
But it was supposed to be a
white male. And my team still said, you know, you really should.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good team.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, that's one of my questions too. I do have a little list of things that you mentioned in your book that I still haven't gotten to. But so Nancy McKeon, you were very close to her. Still are?
Yes, all the girls.
That's
absolutely.
In fact, another Facebook question I have for you. Dave Smith wants to know, how's Mindy doing?
Mindy is great. She just sent me a text 2 nights ago, Dave, because she was with Charlotte, who is also doing great.
Charlotte Rae.
Yes.
Mrs. Garrett.
Actors Fund.
Edna. It's a pattern. I'm just going to do it for everyone. Apologies.
No, you're good. The Actors Fund, which is an organization that helps, you know, actors in different ways with either healthcare or finances, you know, physically, just all sorts of things. And so the Actors Fund honored Charlotte, and Mindy was there to be a part of the presentation. I thought I was going to be there too, but I couldn't make it. And so she sent me a text, "Hey, I'm with Charlotte. She wants her book." I was like, well, okay.
Oh, she wants a copy of your book.
Yeah, but very close with everybody. But Dave, they're both doing very well. Thank you.
And do you have plans to act with any of the Facts of Life co-stars in the future? He wants to know.
You know, we talk about it sometimes. The tricky thing is the media, not even the audience, but the media will consistently position it as our characters getting back together. And it's not. It would be us. It's not a Facts of Life reunion. It's these characters. For example, Lisa Whelchel and I did a TV movie for Hallmark a couple of years ago. And, you know, so much of the media spin was Tootie and Blair back together. No, they're not. You know, and it's like there have been times when actors work together on several projects. Why do you know, it's like if Julia Roberts and Denzel Washington did a movie together, it's not their characters from Pelican Brief back together again. It's not a sequel.
Yes.
You know?
No, unless it's the whole cast and they're doing a thing.
Even if it was the whole cast, if we were those characters and it is a reunion, well then yes. But other than that, guess what? We're actors. It's like Malcolm and I, we talk about working together so much, and then we keep getting back to people would still get stuck on, oh, it's Tootie and Theo. No, it's not. We're actors. And the one time we worked together, oh yeah. Well, again, the media. Yes. And the one time we did work together on a show that Benjamin Bratt starred in on A&E called The Cleaner.
He's so cool too.
Girl, don't get me started on Benjamin Bratt. I mean, his work is just, you know, so great. He's a great actor. Anyway, so when we Malcolm and I we played husband and wife on this show. We didn't have one scene together. He was in therapy, and I played his wife that was talking to Benjamin's character, who was the cleaner, who, you know, his job was to help people get clean off of, you know, addictions. And so Malcolm and I played husband and wife, but we were never in a scene together. Never saw each other.
That's wild. So Malcolm makes a little appearance in the book too, and there are lips involved.
Yes.
And you're young, and he's young.
Yes. Malcolm
and there's a smooch.
Yeah, there was a smooch with us doing a Dick Clark Disney special in the 80s, and his story, and I still have the text to this very day. His story is, "You kissed me." I was like, "I have never kissed you." He's like, "Well, yes, when we were doing the Dick Clark special, when we had wrapped for the day and we were saying bye and we were in the trailer." And he said, "Really, I kissed you, but it sounds better if I say you kissed me."
Confession. Now everybody knows.
Yes.
So also you were friendly with Janet Jackson. She came to your house at the I don't want to give away all your stories, but you have so many. I think there are plenty more. She came to your house to work with your mom, who was an actress.
Absolutely.
Is an actress. And you were sort of in awe, but then you became friendly?
Yes. Well, I was in awe when we were both auditioning for the Miss Butterworth syrup commercial. We became friendly when she would come over and work with Mom for their iconic performances on Good Times regarding the child abuse episodes. And they both worked so hard on, I mean, they worked hard, but you can see the work. You can see the work. Oh my goodness. And I was there watching, you know, them work on this. And so we became friends. I was kind of, you know, felt like the little sister that she didn't have since she was the youngest of her tribe. And it was great fun. You know, it was as I said, it was even normal at some point.
That's right. Yeah. That's so strange to think of in a way, right? But it was normal.
Yeah.
And you even had a story about once you went to Disneyland with Michael Jackson?
Absolutely. So Michael was taking Janet to Disneyland, and he told her that she could bring one friend. And so she, you know, said that she wanted to bring me. And so it was Michael and I and his bodyguard, Bill, big old light-skinned Bill with his little bowler hat. And we were in Miss Catherine's brown Rolls Royce, and that was it. And Michael still had his big afro at the time, but he had a hat on and some glasses. And we were able to just go, you know, to Disneyland and have a ball. It was a very different time.
Yeah, very different time.
Yes.
How much changes in a few decades?
Yes, yeah.
So I have a few quick questions for you, and then one last question, and we'll wrap it up. Okay. What's your biggest pet peeve?
Entitlement.
What are you obsessed with?
Eggnog.
What is your quirkiest habit?
Falling
Falling?
down. I mean,
Are you clumsy?
Oh God, yes.
Have you always been?
Why are you so excited?
Because I can't imagine the girl on roller skates.
Hey, well, if you look closely, there's some times when I'm just kind of wobbling around. Yes, and Sasha Farber will happily tell you that Kim is very clumsy. When we were doing Dancing with the Stars and we were doing the first show, and he knew that he kept telling me, I'm not going to let go of your hands for the first few routines because you need to know you're safe. You need to, and I think really he was saying because I know your ass is clumsy. And sure enough, he let go of my hand. I went to walk down some stairs and I didn't realize that there were no more steps, and so I stepped down too hard and jammed my knee like right before we were going live, and he's like, what the hell, Kim?
I had you so close. We were so good. Okay, so you fall a lot.
Yeah, I'm clumsy.
Okay, what's your biggest secret?
It's a secret.
Oh. Shucks.
Next.
How do people see you? What's the image of Kim Fields?
The image of Kim Fields is very sweet and joyful and a lot of light.
And who is the real Kim Fields?
Kim Fields been through some things and will still try to find and be light. It just, there's a dimmer on it. I think people think it's just a switch that's perpetually on. And I don't think people realize my light it has a dimmer. And life has affected, sometimes how brightly I shine. But I'm always shining. And I don't mean that in a celebrity, superficial manner. One, I'm always going to make sure the light of God is shining in me. And His love is light and shining in me. And I'm always going to, I know the end of the story. I win. And my husband reminded me, he said, the ending is you win. You only lose if you give up. He's very wise. So since I have no intention of giving up, I might pause, catch my breath, but I have no intention of giving up personally or professionally. And so I'll always shine because of those things.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you. Such fun.
That was Kim Fields. Before we wrap up, I want to give a big, gigantic shout out to my patrons, Anne, Lindsay, Jamie, Pat, and Bob. Thank you so much, you guys. It means so much to me. If you'd like major appreciation you want to shout out, just go to patreon.com, patreon.com, or you can just go into your show notes in your podcast app. So where are you listening? Are you on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube? Wherever you are, just go into the episode right now. While you're listening, you don't even have to hit pause. Go into the episode and you'll see the episode description, which is also called show notes. And I have links to pretty much everything there. Supporting the show through Patreon, signing up for my free newsletter, getting in touch with me, finding me on social media, Kim's new book, Blessed Life, there's a link to that. Pretty much everything you want or need to know is right in your app. Or of course, you can just head to reallyfamouspodcast.com. Thank you so much for your comments, and thank you for your tweets and your posts on Instagram and your Facebook shout outs. Thank you for reaching out to tell me that you love the show. I can't tell you how much it means to me. Seriously, thank you so much for listening. I'm Cara Mayer Robinson, and I'll talk to you soon.